Thank you for joining us today. We have with us Dr. Patrick Quaid, who's an optometrist at the View Cubed Therapy Clinics in Guelph in North York, Ontario. He's an author, and we have another author with us today as well, Elaine Uskoski, who is an author, speaker, and coach, and she's a special interest in the areas of video gaming addiction. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
I think it's a surprise to most people to realize that vision is not just natural, that there are some facets of that that is learned. Dr. Quaid, why don't you tell us a little bit about how vision is learned, the implications of that for children, and perhaps Elaine, you can talk about how that impacts the use of screens in the earliest stages and later stages of childhood experience.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is, we don't actually see 20/20 on an eye chart till, depending on the test you use, 2 to 4 years old. Sometimes some tests are as late as 5 years old. But we do actually have convergence is fully formed at 4 months post-birth. But actually at birth, our eyes do not team together properly as a team. And that's normal. So if you see a newborn infant and you actually, jangle some keys or a toy around and you watch their eyes, you'll often see one eye move and then the other eye goes, oh yeah, I better move. So it's sometimes kind of scary to watch, but perfectly normal. So we always look at that 4 to 5 month mark as a critical milestone for that child to be able to converge, but their vision is still developing. So on some metrics, depending what metrics you use, 5, 6, 7 years old. So when you start having these kids, face stuck, head down into an iPad at a very young age, you're blocking a lot of that peripheral mechanisms. And there's only actually one area of the visual system that's fully formed at birth, and that is area MT, or V5 as it's called. So without getting too technical, it's the one that controls your peripheral vision. So even though you can't see centrally clearly yet, your peripheral system, the machinery is ready as soon as the child is born, because it has to integrate with the inner ear. So the visual vestibular mechanism has to work together. So that machinery is present, but very delicate for the first few years of life. And I think, we have to be very careful about what children are exposed to and what they're looking at in the early years of life. I would say, obviously the whole way through life, but especially from birth, probably till like age 7 or 8. I mean, my daughter is 8 right now, and we significantly limit her screen time. And it's hard during a pandemic when people are on Zoom, but we, outside of school and things, we significantly limit her screen time to maybe 20 minutes a day tops.
Yeah, and the pediatric recommendation for screen time for 0 to 2 is 0. They don't believe that children up until the age of 2 should have screens at all. And, as Dr. Quaid said, this is a time for them to learn how to properly see. And if they're staring at some tiny little screen all the time, they're not going to see beyond that and peripherally. And also it's a time for attachment and bonding with children. So, you often see, a mother with baby at breast on the one side, and on the other side, mother is scrolling on her digital device instead of looking at baby, cooing with baby, making eye contact and touching, stroking the child. And so the baby is looking at the digital device, and that's what they want to attach to. That's what seems to be very important to them. And so you're missing some steps in attachment as well as the vision proponent. And then, up to 7, again, the pediatric recommendation is no more than 1 hour a day. And that includes television screens. That's not just, video gaming or iPad screens as well. And, there's so many times I see parents with children in cars, in doctor's offices, in restaurants, and, they're at the table with these tiny little devices. We had Game Boys when my children were young, and they were not allowed at the table. If we were going to dinner, it was because we were spending family time together. And our digital devices has really started to divide that time that we should be connecting with each other as a family. So not just the attachment from 0 to 2, but the continued family attachment that you need throughout.
Yeah, and I think people don't realize that vision truly is learned. It's something that you learn to do. I mean, people have this myth that, I just wake up one day and blink and I'm 20/20 with perfect eyesight and teaming. I mean, it's stimulated, trained, and developed. And I think what's interesting is a friend of mine said the other day, that electronic devices and screens have become the new pacifier for children almost. I saw somebody the other day walking down the street with a pram or a buggy, and they actually had, the buggy had a holder for their iPhone. And I'm looking to your point, it's like you're meant to be making eye contact with your child. I mean, the whole point of reading facial expression and developing emotional intelligence, not just IQ, but EQ. And I saw something very funny actually the other day. It was a photograph, but it was a restaurant. And I know we're in a time when a lot of the restaurants are on lockdown right now, but this restaurant had a policy where it literally had a cage in the middle of the table with a lock on it, and said if everybody puts their phones in there, they get a 15% discount from the meal. And I thought, good on the restaurant owner. I mean, encouraging people to make eye contact, have conversations, social cues. These things are so important. I mean, the old saying is there's a massive percentage of communication that is nonverbal. It's visual cues, what you pick up from body language, from eye contact, from facial expression. And I think, to your point, Elaine, it's a really good one. If mom or dad is stuck on the iPhone and the kid's not getting that feedback, there's going to be consequences down the road that we haven't even contemplated yet on that.
We've been enjoying conversation with Elaine Uskoski, who's an author, speaker, and coach, and her interests in the area of video gaming addiction have been very helpful for us to hear today. We're also speaking with Dr. Patrick Quaid, who's an optometrist with the ViewCube Therapy Clinics in Guelph and North York, Ontario. He's the author of the book, Learning to See, Seeing to Learn, Vision, Learning, and Behavior in Children. Thank you both for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.